I'm excited to see everybody, and we've got a exciting basketball season coming up. So I'll just open it up to any questions. Yeah, I would say what we went through with COVID was pretty amazing too. You know, one of the things I'm most proud of, and I don't know how many of you know this, but starting a year ago, July 20th, we started testing COVID tests, and we did not have a player, coach, or anyone associated with our program test positive from July 20th through the end of the season. So we did not have any of our players get COVID, and we stayed pretty healthy in terms of COVID. But once the season ended and the transfer portal became the topic of conversation amongst all coaches, over 1,700 basketball student athletes in Division I transferred. And we had several guys who moved on. It was very, very important for me and my staff to build the program in such a way that we felt like we were improving. And so the guys who did return, I give a lot of credit to. The NCAA made them another year of eligibility possible. So we had Rodney Miller, Sam Wardenberg, Dane Gack, and Cam Auguste, you know, all returning for another year. But we lost a couple of key guys. We lost Chris Likes, we lost Earl Timberlake, and so we felt like those were the two most important positions to fill. We actively went after point guard to take Chris's place, and we're very fortunate that Charlie Moore decided that Miami was the best place for him. He's been an outstanding fit already. I think the guys on the team really enjoy playing with Charlie, and he certainly is a player that I think our Miami fans will enjoy watching. Losing Earl was a little bit different because of his injury, and we went out and looked for someone in his size category with kind of his versatility, because Earl could play multiple positions. And we were very fortunate. We were able to recruit and sign Jordan Miller from George Mason University, about 6'7", 200 pounds, very, very strong, can play multiple positions. And again, he's a great fit. But we were also able to get three outstanding freshmen, Bensley Joseph, point guard out of Boston, Wooga Poplar out of Philadelphia, and Ja'Kai Robinson out of the Washington, D.C. area. So we feel like our recruiting was successful. As you mentioned, we would have liked to have gotten just one more, because injuries right now are so prevalent throughout college basketball, and we experienced a hurricane of injuries last year. And so we come into this season, we're pretty healthy right now, and looking forward to our first game November 9th against Canisius here at home at the Watsco Center.
Jim, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Can you talk a little more about Charlie and what he brings? And, you know, it seems like everything I've heard about him is that he's really more of a true point guard than Chris was, and that in a way it may even improve the team. People were very concerned when Chris left, but it seems like Charlie may be more of a point guard than Chris really was. Can you talk about what he brings to the team and what you've seen so far from him? Thank you.
Well, the first thing is I'm very proud of Chris Likes and what he accomplished during his 4 years here. He graduated in 4 years. Had he stayed healthy last season, he would have graduated as one of the top 5 scorers in school's history. Chris was and is a high-octane scorer. Charlie Moore, on the other hand, is a little bit more of a distributor, getting other people involved. And playing alongside of Isaiah Wong and Cam Auguste, he has 2 outstanding scorers on either side of him. And so I think it's going to be a combination of Charlie, Cam, and Isaiah who are going to create a lot of scoring opportunities for us. And in our exhibition game the other day, Isaiah had 40, Charlie had 25, and Cam had 23 to go along with like 8 assists. So, the three of them are guys we're going to count on to produce numbers. Now, we'd like to have more balance in our offense. We'd like to get the big guys more heavily involved in scoring the ball because I think that'll help us at both ends. But Charlie is a very good facilitator. He'll make some outstanding passes. He's a creative guy, so he'll also have some creative mistakes that as a coaching staff we'll have to have patience with.
Can I ask a follow-up on Charlie? How did you guys, what was the connection there? When did you first see him play? Had you recruited him at some point along his long journey? And, why did you end up connecting with him or he with you?
Well, we started recruiting Charlie when he was a junior in high school out of Chicago. He was an outstanding player, very highly recruited. So when he made himself available by putting his name in the portal, Coach Courtney, my assistant, who had been at DePaul with Charlie, he knew him and told me, hey, we need to reach out to him. I went into my notes. I still had Charlie's number. I called him and he answered. So we got started right away. But I would say a lot of it had to do with Coach Courtney's previous relationship with Charlie and the DePaul staff. Coach Courtney worked for Dave Lato, who was Charlie's head coach, and they're best friends. And we recruited Coach Courtney to join our staff, and he left DePaul to come to Miami. So kind of a network that had already existed.
Hi, Coach. I just wanted to ask about Jordan Miller, the transfer from George Mason. Seems like a very versatile player. In your preseason game, you started him at power forward. What does he bring to that role that you're expecting this season?
Yeah, one of the interesting things about Jordan Miller in practice so far, he's been able to score in a variety of ways. He's shooting about just under 60% from the field in practice. He's been our leading offensive rebounder every day since practice began. So from his ability to score in around the basket, he's a good offensive rebounder. He's a good low post player, but he's also has the capability as a stretch four-man or play the three. He can shoot the three. He can stretch the defense and force the defense to come out, or he can bury the three-point shot. He's a good facilitator. He's one of those guys that doesn't need the ball in his hands a long time to be very, very helpful and productive.
Anything else for Coach L?
Can you talk about Isaiah? I mean, obviously 40 points the other night, but what do you think he gained by getting evaluated by the NBA scouts? What do you think how is he going to be different this year? And how big of a boost was it when he, in particular, I know he and Cam, but when Isaiah announced that he was coming back, what did that do for your program, just emotionally and everything else?
Well, Isaiah is one of those guys that you love coaching. He's kind of a quiet young man who just works his tail off. He gives you a great effort every day in practice and every time he puts on his basketball shoes. He's an outstanding scorer, but he's improved dramatically in his defense and rebounding and is really working to be a guy who can create opportunities for his teammates. He's worked on his game. We love the fact that he decided to return and pull his name out of the draft, but we believe wholeheartedly in him and have tremendous confidence that this will likely be his last year at the University of Miami because he's an NBA quality guard. We've already had a number of NBA scouts here at our practices watching him, and they've all been very, very impressed and have shared with me and my staff that they also believe that Isaiah is a first-round pick.
We'll go last year for Wyatt and Gary.
Jim, it seems like the ACC is really wide open
nervous because what you've gone through here the last few years. But do you quietly have confidence in this team? I mean, it just seems like this is a really good team. I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but I mean, looking at your roster and the way this team has been put together, it seems like this is not a bottom of the conference type of team that I think a lot of people might suspect.
Yeah, well, Gary, first of all, I appreciate you not wanting to put me on the spot and then asking the question. But here's the way I look at every season, every year. Come in with a lot of optimism, a lot of confidence because the guys are working so hard. The key for us is, can we keep everybody healthy and playing well? We drastically missed Sam Wardenberg last year. He was our leading returning rebounder, our leading returning shot blocker, and he is very much a glue guy. He's our best big defender, and not having him created a host of question marks in our front court. When we then lost Rodney Miller, that added to that problem. So if we can keep Sam and Rodney healthy, Dan Gack had himself a very good year last year. If he can stay healthy, if Anthony Walker can continue to make the progress that he did, the jump he made from freshman year to sophomore year was significant. And now we're hoping the jump he makes from sophomore year to junior year is even more significant. If all those guys stay healthy and play well, yeah, I think we can compete with all the teams on our schedule. But we only have to wait and see if we can stay healthy.
Last question for Coach Elton from Wyatt, and we'll have Coach Meyer.
Hey, Coach, I know you all have plenty of veterans, especially in the backcourt this year, but could you just talk a little bit more about what the freshmen bring and what they've been able to learn from the veterans this year, especially early on before the action actually gets going?
Yeah, we have three very different kind of freshmen. Bensley Joseph, a point guard and a tough, hard-nosed defender, a good facilitator. He's the point guard of the future. Charlie Moore is a sixth-year senior. Bensley's like 18. Charlie's like 35 or something. And so Bensley's going to be learning from him, but he's going to be able to contribute. Wooga Poplar is a whole different story. He's a high-octane scorer, very much like Isaiah Wong was as a freshman. He can really score the ball. He can shoot the three. He can take the ball to the basket. He's a terrific athlete. He's a little stronger than Isaiah was as a freshman, but he has a lot to learn defensively. His defense is something that he put on vacation back when he was in high school, and we're trying to bring him back to reality. Because he's going to have to guard some very, very talented players in the ACC. And then Ja'Kai Robinson is just a warrior type, just plays really, really hard at both ends of the court. The three of them are going to earn some playing time, but they're behind some very good experienced players.